Welcome to the first episode of A New South is Rising podcast. My name is Sherrell Byrd, and I'm so excited that you're joining us for our first ever episode. And I'm grateful to introduce this gentleman who's going to join us today. He has no idea what he's about to get into because this is the first episode. And that's none other than the Southern gentleman himself, as I like to call him, Clinton Banks-Vicks. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Sherrell, for having me.
All right, well, I got to give you some ground rules.
Okay.
And we got one simple ground rule is we keep it real, but we also sometimes keep it shady. And so whenever we say something shady, we're going to take a sip of this No Shade lemonade. And this is brought to you by a Black-owned woman company. The name of the lemonade is No Shade Lemonade, and she has all these amazing flavors, including classic lemonade, strawberry lemonade, blueberry lemonade. And so when we get shady today, we're going to take a sip, all right?
I think I can handle that.
I know you can. Let's do it. So I want to learn a little bit more about you. I know we've just recently met. I feel like I've known you forever, but we really just met a few months ago.
Right.
And we met around just some of the work that we've been doing in the community. We've kind of crossed paths. But I know you have a rich history here in Albany, Georgia. So tell us a little bit about that.
I do. I'm fortunate to come from 5 generations of Albanians. Lee County being the neighboring county of Doherty County. Mm-hmm. My mother's side of the family from there, and then my father's side from the Doherty-Mitchell County area. Mm-hmm. They're farmers. The family goes back generations farming the area, as well as being ministers and teachers in the area. And so I guess I kind of encompass all 3.
Right.
I didn't think about that until
it's
now.
all in you. Yeah,
so I'm really living out my ancestors' dreams.
Yeah, wow. So we're sitting on this amazing property, and thank you so much for allowing us to use the porch as this backdrop, because that really truly is what the South is about, right? Us sitting on the front porch, having some real conversations over some lemonade, having your fan so you can swat a few gnats and mosquitoes if you have to, right? And so this is the perfect backdrop for our first episode, and this is what's called the Vicks Farms Estate, right? Let me make sure I'm saying that right.
Okay.
Yes.
Vicks Estate Farm and Fishery.
Now tell us about this. I know this is a huge endeavor that you're taking on almost by yourself. I know some of your family's helping, but this has been a labor of love. Yeah, so tell us about it.
So 2 years ago in 2020, I purchased this home, which I had seen as a kid growing up in Albany and didn't make the connection until after buying it. And once I purchased the home, the vision of turning it into a bed and breakfast and restoring the farm all kind of poetically came to me. Wow. And so since then, I've been working on hosting events. I've been able to secure a partnership with Airbnb that's connected me with a new community, so not-for-profit Black farming organization here in Albany. And so it's just been myriads of blessings, like you say, a lot of hard work, but I'm loving every minute of it.
And it's a beautiful property, you all. I mean, this is just the tip of the whole totality of this property and all the work he's done on the inside. There's a garden in the back. There's going to be a farm, like a fisheries where you can actually fish.
So I'm restoring the fishing pond, which is 100 yards, and it's at the rear of the property. I have a herb garden. We also do raised beds. I have a tractor shed I'm going to be restoring into a hosting venue and STEM center. So there's a lot of projects. The house and the property itself is 98 years old.
Wow.
So almost about to reach that centennial mark, and we'll be fully functioning by the time that happens.
That's a big deal. And we've had some parties.
We have.
We've had
some times
out here
at the Vicks Estate.
And one of the things that I love about you is, like, again, he's the consummate entertainer, y'all. So he cooks some amazing, like, farm to fork food, which is so critical to us as Black folks to not always eat soul food, right? But to have fresh farm to fork food. He entertains. He actually sings. Y'all hear this baritone, right? I know y'all hear that in his voice because he's also a trained classical singer. Where did you learn how to sing?
So started training actually here in Albany at Albany State University back in the late 90s with Dr. Leroy Bynum.
Yes.
He allowed me to enter his studio and study as a vocal performance minor. I majored in speech and theater, and so after leaving Albany State as a presidential scholar, transferring to Howard University, I picked up my vocal studies there, finished college, moved to New York, went to, auditioned at Juilliard and was accepted into their professional choir. and just never look back, and have been continuously training myself and taking every opportunity to make sure that I stay actively involved in the arts as possible.
So this is what we have. I want y'all to hear a few things. Number one, all the respect goes to the HBCUs,
Absolutely.
Howard University,
Yes.
Albany State University. This is the product of the HBCUs. So I'm going to have to drink sip a little bit because, no shade, but it's some great stuff coming out of these HBCUs. And also, just to know the richness and the jewels that we have here in South Georgia, Juilliard trained professionals that have been all over the world, right? And decided to come back home and do some amazing things here at home. And so agritourism, or black agritourism, is what the Vicks Farm and Fisheries is really all about. And I know that's kind of this emerging enterprise here in the state of Georgia. You talked a little bit about new communities and Resora, and they have a whole other story that hopefully we'll get to talk about one day. But just the redemptiveness of, black folks reclaiming, I want to say, our hands being on the land and the work of farming. And a lot of times we feel as though, look, I'm not trying to be on the farm,
Right.
because we were forced to do that when we came here. And so a lot of people have a very negative connotation of agriculture and farming as black people, but now there's a reclamation of that. So talk a little bit about why you, as a young guy, decided, no, I want to get back into farming and reclaiming the land.
And I have to be totally honest, this whole journey has been a lot of divine intervention. I didn't have any idea when I started the doors that were going to be open. I only take credit for not shying away from the opportunity and the responsibility once I saw it.
Right.
But initially, I didn't have any idea it was going to get this big. But I'm loving where I'm put. I think and know that I'm put there for a purpose.
Right.
I know for a fact that farming is not something that anybody that even knows me would think that I would be doing, because they just know me. I'm a country guy, but I'm a city guy.
Right.
But coming back and getting back in tune with nature is just a part of that whole soul spirit connection. And so I'm loving being able to be a brand ambassador for the Southern Agritourism Trail for Airbnb, and also just helping to put a different face on the image of what black farming looks like.
Absolutely. So what is that image? Let's talk about that. Let's get a little...
Well, the image starts with knowing the history of how our people came into agriculture in this country.
Right.
High on the Hog is a great documentary on Netflix.
Love that.
One great not-for-profit organization is Braiding Seeds, and Braiding Seeds is how I learned that the enslaved Africans that were stolen from Africa and brought to this area took seeds and hid them in their hair, so that when they arrived wherever they were going, they knew that they would be able to feed themselves. Wow. Learning that story really just made me know that I had a responsibility to not shy away from becoming more involved in agriculture, encouraging young people and teaching them the different areas and aspects of agriculture, because it's not just farming in the backyard or in the field. There's technology involved now. There's marketing plans. There's business aspects. We have a black-owned liquor company, Uncle Nearest, which is a extension of agriculture, and it's owned by two black women in Tennessee, and they've just made over $100 million in revenue and donated $1 million to HBCUs.
That's incredible.
Those are the type of stories that we want to have more of. I'm doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work right now that I can't quite talk about, but it's some heavy stuff involved in technology that will be opening up many doors if we have some HBCUs that are willing to step out on something new and truly be innovative.
And that's so critical, because I think it's important that this younger generation understand that farming is not what it used to be.
No.
It's not us out here doing backbreaking, hoeing the rows and tilling.
Some of that is a part of it. There is those days. However, it's not.
It's highly technological now. And so you do still have to have those specialized degrees. And we do need our HBCUs to push more into STEM and into engineering, into those things, so that we can still reclaim agriculture. Because right now, black farmers are very small in number when it comes to farming in America.
Absolutely.
Where once that was not the case. And so I know the challenge and the plight of the Pickford lawsuit, and how black farmers are still fighting today for the same level of grants and funding and all of those things. And I think when we see that tends to make people feel like, I don't want any parts of that. I don't want to fight to do this. It's hard work. But this is a huge, like billion, sometimes $1 trillion industry
Absolutely.
that we can get back into and we can work into. And so I think reclaiming the land might be a great title for this.
It is.
Because I also want to kind of move into the conversation about reclaiming our historic spaces. And that's where you and I met, right?
Yes.
And so one of our first projects at SOWEGA Rise